Hello and welcome to A Deadly Silence. I'm your host, Larry Curtis, and it is the goal of all of us associated with our program to bring up-to-date current information associated with the alcohol and drug addiction problems throughout Brockton and the South Shore community. Today, our guest is Brian Robbins. Brian is a recovering addict and peer support specialist with the program here in Brockton called Stairway to Recovery. Brian, welcome to our program.
Thank you very much, Larry. Great to be here.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you. Brian, can you tell us a little bit about Stairway to Recovery and where it's located here in the city?
Stairway to Recovery is located at 142 Crescent Street on the second floor. We're a peer-driven, peer-led program, which means that we're a program that is not clinically based. We're a program as of like each one teach one. So people who have issues around substance abuse can come into the center and find somebody that's been where they have been.
So is this just a day program, or is it an overnight program?
Yes, this is a day program. We don't have overnight at the program at Stairway. The program is 6 days a week. We're open from 9 to 5 throughout the week, and on Saturday from 10 to 5.
Could you tell us, our viewers, a little bit about yourself? You are a recovering addict, as I understand, and how you became involved in Stairway to Recovery.
My story goes back a long way. I've lived in Brockton all my life. I suffered with addiction for a good 20 years of my life. I struggled with not being able to stop using for a long time. And,
was it mostly a drug addiction or alcohol, or what type of addiction?
Yeah. I struggled with, me personally, I had a heavy drug addiction, but alcohol was also in the picture. Alcohol is where I started as a young teenager, was one of the first drugs that I ever picked up. And from there it just progressed. As in later years, I started to go to hardcore drugs, and there came a point in my life where I just couldn't stop. So, through going through trials and tribulations throughout my life, I've served time in prison. I've been in numerous facilities, detox, halfway houses, and through the grace of God, in the year 2000, I was able to get clean and stay clean.
So there was something that basically at that point in time in the year 2000 that, inside yourself, a greater strength says, I gotta stop this lifestyle.
Yeah, Larry, I was introduced to the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous through the court system at a young age. I had been in trouble as a young adult and been, part of my probation periods was always to attend a 12-step fellowship and to get involved. So I had kind of had a knowledge of how like NA and AA had worked, but I was never willing to apply myself to it. In the year...
And that's kind of a common theme that you hear out there among the addicts, that basically, the addict, no matter how much their loved ones would love to be able to help them, nobody's going to be able to help the addict but the addict themselves when they want to make it happen.
It's very true. It's very true. I tried to get clean for my parents, for my children. I have 2 daughters that were small at the time, and it never worked. It never worked. It wasn't until I had enough that it was time for me to stop my road to recovery.
That was around 2000, and at that point in time, you have been on the road to recovery. You're in recovery today. So how did you become involved with Stairway to Recovery?
I became involved with Stairway to Recovery. I met the director of the program, whose name is Efrain Baez, by attending NA meetings that are held there on Friday evenings. So I would come into the center and I would participate in the NA meeting there, and I would start to talk. Efrain, the director, is a very open gentleman, and he would always engage us as we came through and talk to us, and and encourage us to be a part of Stairway to Recovery, and a part of the recovery community in Brockton. And at that time, I was actually working for a different organization doing HIV services, and Efrain actually kind of he kind of came after me for a little while. For a little while, he would always ask me, you know, if I was ever looking to come somewhere else, that I would have a home there at Stairway to Recovery.
So you were working in another capacity, in a support capacity to some extent, and somebody else recognized the talent and the skill that you would bring to their program, and they went after you.
You could say that, Larry. You could
That's
say
a positive
that.
thing.
You could
That's
say
great
that.
to hear.
You could say that.
Let's talk a little bit about the program itself in the context that, is this a male-female eligibility program? And if it is, what is the percentage of your male-female population?
Well, it's definitely a male-female at the center. The population, we're a little male dominant right now, but to be perfectly honest, in the last week or two, we've probably signed up about 4 or 5 female members to the center. We're still got a pretty male dominance there, but I would say it would probably run about 65-35, somewhere in there. But we are definitely open to male and females. The only restriction that we have at Stairway to Recovery is that we don't have adolescents as members. Members can bring their children to the center, but we do not have adolescents as members to the center, meaning under 18.
Under 18 years
Under
of
18.
age. Okay. But if there is a addict that's in recovery who is family focused as part of their recovery process, then you're allowing the children to come in and
We more than welcome.
understand part of
Yes.
that recovery process.
We
That's fantastic.
We more than welcome our members to bring their children to Stairway to Recovery. We have, at Stairway to Recovery, we have different sections around the center. The center is broke up in a bunch of different sized rooms upstairs on the second floor, and we have space for where if you were to bring your child, you could go and you could sit down and do arts and crafts. You could sit down and have lunch with your child. If you need be, have a visit with your child through DSS or DCF, which it is now, we also offer space for that.
Oh, okay. So that's another way of reintroducing the addict and the recovering addict back into the family environment.
Exactly.
You know, in a safe, somewhat supervised type of environment.
Exactly.
As well, you know, you mentioned restrictions a few minutes ago as the age restriction.
Right.
Are there any other restrictions that your members would need to be aware of in relationship to participating in the program?
Well, the main restriction is and I hate to even say that it's a restriction, is that we want to keep Stairway to Recovery a safe place for addicts, meaning that we would not want people to be who are actively using to be participating in the center. And how we go about that is very delicate. It's a very delicate process. Just to give an example, if somebody was to come to Stairway to Recovery, maybe if they're a new member, or maybe somebody who is choosing, maybe wanting to be a member, and if they came under the influence, we don't sit at the door and say, no, you can't come in. But what we would do at that point in time to keep the space safe is that we would take this person and we would sit down and we would talk to them and see what we could do for them to help them on their road to recovery. Because we know that recovery is one of the hardest things that somebody's going to do who suffers from addiction. We know that relapse, it doesn't have to be a part of recovery, but it is. So what we would do, we would take somebody, and probably a peer would take, and when I say a peer is meaning a member and maybe one of the volunteers of the center would take somebody, and they would take them into maybe into the quiet room and sit down and talk to them and see like what's going on with their life. What is the problem? Where is their stumbling blocks? Why they can't seem to stay clean consistently? And if they needed some help, if they're looking to go to detox or something like that.
So while you're not in essence a detox center itself, that if somebody was really reaching out, there's some guidance and assistance to help them get on the right track and move forward and hopefully upon their detox, they'd be able to come back and participate as
Oh,
a
most
member of the
definitely,
program.
Larry. Most definitely. We would never turn away a member just because they've had a slip or if they've had a relapse. We would never turn somebody away. Part of what we do at the center, our volunteers are trained to contact detox facilities to get, and we, when I say we, I mean Stairway to Recovery. What we would do is if somebody is choosing to go into treatment, we would send them in a cab. We would pay for their transportation to that facility.
As an outpatient program, kind of a day outpatient program basically, there's a lot of different services that are provided, some that might be available directly through Stairway to Recovery, but other services that I guess other agencies out there provide. Can you talk to us about some of those services that your members would be available to?
Some of the things that we do at Stairway to Recovery, we have a schedule that is made up by the members each month. And each month, there is certain times in the day where they have certain meetings or groups that go on. Like, just for an example, on a Wednesday, they have a men's and a women's group, which is recovery-based. It's not, and when I say recovery-based, I don't mean AA or NA. We're open to all paths to recovery, whether that be just abstinence, or whether if that's faith-based, whether if that's 12-step, or whatever type of recovery or trauma-based, or whatever type of recovery the member needs. So they have different kinds of groups that the members themselves and the volunteers put on. They do relapse prevention groups. They do morning motivation groups. We have a faith-based group that meets on Mondays, along with having a 12-step fellowship that comes in on Fridays.
It's been interesting as I've continued to understand the road to recovery aspects and what's available for the addicts out there. The spirituality and recovery aspect seems to be in almost every program. How important is that to the recovering process? Regardless of your religious affiliation.
Of course, and I'm going to speak on a personal level here. For me, I think that was my major stumbling block was, and like you said, it's not about religion, it's about spirituality. For me, that I know that I can't do this process alone, that I need the care of a loving God in my life in order for me to continue to recover. So that's something that we don't push on our members. We allow them to gather their own strength in whichever way that they feel that is comfortable for them. But we also talk about the spiritual principles: love, empathy, fellowship, open-mindedness, willingness. These are some of the principles that allow us as recovering addicts to continue on a daily basis.
I noticed one of the core strengths of the program that exists in Stairway to Recovery is that it's really peer-focused, that you're providing an opportunity for a recovering addict for a place to come in and feel safe and be amongst their peers as additional recovering addicts are. So tell us a little bit about how that peer support base helps each other.
This is and this is what's great about Stairway to Recovery, being peer-driven, peer-led. One of the war cries of an addict is, "You don't know where I've been. You don't know how I feel." And to be a little blunt, somebody can't say that to me. You know what I mean? I've been through a lot. You know what I mean? I've been through personally through family issues around my daughters, around addiction, or having my daughters removed from the home. I've been through prison. I've been out on the street. I've been unemployable. You know what I mean? So the greatest thing about this is that this is not, and I don't want to seem biased, but this is not about somebody who goes to school and gets a degree and is going to tell somebody how to stay clean. This is about some people that are in the center that have been staying clean consistently for all different lengths of time. We have some of our members up over 20 years of recovery and that are there to help the one coming through the door now. And that in and of itself is a welcoming feeling. The center
It almost has to be a welcoming feeling for those peer members who were there, basically assisting those newer members who are coming in. That has to be kind of a sense of self-fulfillment on their part as well, I would
Part
think.
of recovery is giving back. You know what I mean? Part of recovery is giving back, and at the center, we're about each one teach one. You know, there's a lot of wealth of knowledge and wisdom at Stairway to Recovery. You know, because not only are the members about recovery, but so is the staff. You know what I mean? So it's like, so we're positive role models for each other. You know, if I was to take a look at my life, go back in my life and go back 12 years, I would never think that I'd be sitting at Stairway to Recovery helping other people stay clean a day at a time. You know what I mean? That's not how I drew it up.
No.
You know, but this is the path that I'm on, and this is where I'm at. And one of the greatest things that I love about Stairway to Recovery is the family atmosphere. It's we're like a family. You know what I mean? The members at Stairway, we eat together. You know, we eat as a community. Sometimes it's you know, a lot of times from people from wherever they may come from, different walks of life, some people don't know how to sit down at a table in a family setting and be comfortable. And to have dinner or lunch together. That's some of the things that we do at Stairway.
Well, it was interesting because just this past month, we celebrated National Recovery Month.
Yes.
And one of the very nice opportunities that was presented here in the city was that basically Stairway to Recovery, in conjunction with BAMSI, the Brockton Neighborhood Health Center, the Latin American Health Institute, and the Brockton Mayor's Opiate Overdose Prevention Coalition, sponsored the second annual recovery picnic out at Salisbury Park, right here in downtown Brockton.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about how that came to be. That's the second annual. Obviously, last year was the first, this time the second. And what does that mean to all of the members of all of the different organizations?
You know, this is something that came from the members. This was something about what are we going to do to give back to the community for Recovery Month. Actually, it was our third. It's the third. It's the third cookout. But so part of how the center works is that we have community meetings twice a month. And during that community meeting, some of the topics that we talk about around different times of the year is like, what are we going to do for Recovery Month? How are we as a center going to give back to the community what has been freely given to us? You know what I mean? Like, how are we going to serve this community? You know, and to show that people can stay clean, get clean, stay clean, and give back and be positive. So some of the members come up, they say, why don't we have a cookout? Why don't we have a cookout, and we will raise funds, we will go to different organizations, ask for donations, and put on a cookout, and we will serve the community as Stairway to Recovery.